Welcome to summer school. Today, class, I'm going to teach you about radicals.
What's a radical?
Well, Caroline, a radical looks like this, and it means square root. Now, not every number inside of a radical is a perfect square, and when that happens, it needs to be put into the simplest radical form.
Okay, when are we going to use this in real life or whatever, and why does it have to be in simplest radical form?
You'll use it on tests throughout your school career, smart mouth. A number needs to be in the simplest radical form because it makes it the most accurate. You know a number is in simplest radical form when the number inside of the radical has no perfect square factors other than 1.
What's a perfect square?
Numbers like 36, 49, and 64. Their square roots are other whole numbers, being 6, 7, and 8. Perfect squares are often your answers.
I feel like you're lying to me when you say that. Can you please explain it?
Alright, I'll use an example. The square root of 98. Now, the two easiest factors out of 98 are 2 and 49. Since 49 is a perfect square of 7, you can factor that out. You bring 7 outside of the radical and leave the 2 on the inside. So your final answer is 7 square root of 2.
Okay, so if you're like factoring out and there's two of the same numbers, like you take it out of the radical. Okay, but what if it's like, what if there's already a number outside the radical, like 2 square root of 75? Like, how would you do that?
Alright, I'll use that as an example. So, 2 square root of 75. Now, the factors of 75 are 3 and 25, and 25 is a perfect square of 5, so that factors out. So 5 is then multiplied with 2, because it's outside of the radical. So you have 10 on the outside, and then you leave 3 on the inside. So 10 square root of 3 is your final answer.
So you multiply the numbers outside of the radical together. But then how do you get the simplified form back to the larger form?
Let's do this with the example 4 square root of 2. Now, 4 was originally brought outside of the radical because it's a square factor, its square being 16. So you multiply 16 by 2 to get your final answer of square root of 32.
Okay, so wait, where'd you get the 2?
Well, it was in the radical to begin with, so you multiply it by the 16 going back in.
On the worksheet, it has radicals being multiplied together. How do you do that?
Well, it's just like regular multiplying, except you keep the numbers inside radicals inside the radicals. So for example, the square root of 3 times the square root of 7 would equal the square root of 21. And 5 square root of 3 times 4 square root of 2 would equal 20 square root of 6. When multiplying and dividing radicals, you just have to remember that the numbers outside of the radicals stay outside and the numbers inside of the radicals stay inside.
Okay, so wait, how do you divide? How do you do that?
Again, it's very simple. You divide the numbers outside of the radicals by each other and the numbers inside of the radicals by each other. For example, 4 square root of 15 divided by 2 square root of 3 is 2 square root of 5.
That's it?
Yes, and again, make sure your answers are in simplest radical form. Otherwise, it'll be wrong. Now do your homework. It may or may not be for a grade tomorrow.
Wait, so should I actually do it?
The word actually did nothing for that sentence, and you should always do your homework.
Okay, it won't actually be for a grade because it never actually is.
You should probably do it anyway because I may or may not take it up.